Hello, everyone. This is Cathy Foster from Techknow Kids, and I'm here to do some really fun STEM activities related to Earth Day. Earth Day is April 22nd, and it's a day that we celebrate the Earth and learn ways that we can take care of it. But I think Earth Day should be every day of the year. We should be doing it all the time. It doesn't matter of the date. We should practice it all year long. And so I'm going to give you some tips and some very fun activities and some science experiments that will go along with that. So the first thing I would like to do is I'd like to share some books that might be in the library, but if they are not in the library, I'm sure that there are many books related to Earth Day or how you can save the Earth or how the Earth is a friendly place or just how many books about that. So the first book that I'd like to share, it's called Earth Day Crafts for kids using recycled materials. Beautiful Earth Day craft ideas you can make with your children. And it just has a lot of different, very fun ideas, some different craft ideas and things like that, and things that you can do with recycled materials, which is what we're going to be doing today too, also. The second book that I'd like to share is one of my favorites. It's an older book. It's been in publication for many years. It's called Miss Rumphius Story and Pictures by Barbara Cooney. And it is a way Miss Rumphius makes the world a better place. And she does that by planting some flower seeds. So she made the world a better place by doing that. So this is a really excellent book that I would recommend. It has really pretty illustrations in it. And I would highly recommend this book. It's one of my favorites. And then the third book that I would like to recommend is 10 Things I Can Do to Help My World. And I love this book because the illustrations, it's a very easy read. So it's very, perfect for small children, but it also has some big ideas. So this one I remember, and you can see like when I turn the page that it's kind of cut, to turn off the light when I leave the room. Turning off lights and using more efficient light bulbs saves valuable energy. I try, and then again, it's cool because the sink is cut out, to turn off the tap when I brush my teeth. Every time you do this, you save 18 glasses of water. So let me just tell you about that. So if you brush your teeth and you keep the water running, a better way to do that is to just put your toothpaste on your toothbrush, turn the water on, rinse it, turn it off, brush your teeth, rinse out, and you will save 18 glasses of water every time you do that. And we're going to be doing an experiment about water. And water is a very valuable thing. We are lucky that we have it in the United States. It's abundant to us, but it's important to talk about pollution and things like that. So one of our experiments is going to be about that. And then I always, and then you see there's a trash container here, throw my trash away. Putting garbage away keeps the world safe and clean. And this is a perfect time of the year to do something like that. You can go around your house and maybe put some gloves on and pick up some little garbage and things that you see over winters. A lot of times you get it by the fence and things like that. It just makes the world look a lot nicer when it's clean. You'll see on the roads right now that there's a lot of garbage from the winter, and hopefully pretty soon there'll be people out there picking it up, and maybe you do that for your community. You go around your community and pick up garbage. But again, make sure you ask your parents before you do that. All right. I will feed the birds in winter. Feeding the bird helps them get ready for nesting in the spring. And we're going to make a little bird feeder that I think you're going to enjoy out of just a super easy one. But if you want to make one out of recycled materials, that would be an awesome thing to do too. I use, can you guess what this was going to be? Both sides of the paper. Now, this is another easy one to do. If you are in school or doing remote learning and you have a paper and it's only on one side, use the other side, put it in a scrap bin and use it to maybe make some doodles, do some art, maybe keep some notes and things like that. That's a great, easy thing that you can do. I remind my parents to unplug the TV when we are not watching it. Many electrical appliances use energy even when they are turned off. So that's one that I should do a better job of. This is one that's pretty important too that we're going to talk a little bit more about. I enjoy, these are boxes right here. And then again, how it's cut out like this. making toys from things around the house. And that's what another thing we're going to be talking about. What we're going to be doing today is I'm going to show you just by using some simple, easy things, what you can do. It says we can reuse lots of things before we throw them away. All right, so that's oh, and then it says I can. And here we're going to be doing a little something with this too. So a lot of this book is applicable to what we're going to be doing after I finish this one. I can, you see some seeds, plant seeds and help them grow. And you can see that they're not using planters that they bought. They're using things that they are reusing, things that they could recycle, that maybe could have been recycled, that they're reusing to plant the seeds in. And we're going to be doing that too. All right, and then it says, I help, last page, I help sort the recycling, all because I love my world. So again, super easy. I love the illustrations in this book, and it has some awesome ideas. So with that, we are going to do the first experiment, okay? The first experiment has to do with water pollution. And if you go to a river or a lake, you'll see that maybe there's some garbage and things like that. We're talking about other things too, things that people put like chemicals and stuff into the water. And we are lucky that we have a good system that filters the water, but some countries don't. And sometimes you can see that this experiment is going to show you that sometimes, even though the water might look clean, it still has some pollution in it. So we're going to start by having a glass of water. And the rest of the experiment that I saw said to put pepper in it, but I chose to choose some cinnamon because you're going to actually have a sip of this and it tastes a little bit better than what pepper would taste like. So this is some cinnamon sugar. And so I'm just going to put quite a bit. And the cinnamon sugar is representing polluted water. Okay, if you can see that I sprinkled some in there, and you can see that the water, it looks dirty on top, but you can see it kind of flowing to the bottom. And if you let this sit over time, it will actually turn like a brown color, okay? So put a little more in there. All right. And you can see that the water, as we speak, it's getting much cloudier, right? So what we're going to do now is we're going to use a piece of paper towel to represent a filter, okay? And so I'm going to take a piece of paper towel, and I'm going to take an empty glass, and I'm going to fold this paper towel into force because it fits over the rim of the glass pretty good. And then I'm going to kind of use my hand to go around here. And now you can see that as the water is looking very kind of brownish color. And so as I see the filter, and it will keep some of the pollution in it, okay? You see that where it's kind of, and the water is coming through slowly. So that's looking a lot cleaner if you look at it as it's going through the filter. So that's a good thing. And you think, okay, is that all the pollution out? So what you need to do after you kind of pour it in, I'm not going to do the whole thing, but pour a little bit in. If you taste the water, if it tastes like our regular tap water, it will show you that the pollution is out of the filter worked. But if I taste this, guess what? It looks clean, but I taste a little bit of cinnamon. So it's showing that even though that you had a good filtration system, sometimes some of the pollution stays in there. So it's very important to take care of our water and to just to kind of show you that even though it looks clean, sometimes it isn't. All right. So that's our first experiment. The second thing that I'm going to show you is how you can use. So let's talk about what reduce, reuse, and recycle is. When you reduce something, that means that the amount that you produce, that you try to reduce the amount of waste that you produce. And how you can do that, say, for example, is instead of buying individually packed things, you purchase a big bag and then you put it into recycle, like with containers that you can reuse again, like this, right? So if I was gonna, buy, instead of buying, say, individually packed carrots that I'll have that plastic around it, that carrots are good for you to eat, they're very healthy, but the plastic is not good for the earth. So instead of buying the individual packs and packets, why don't you get a container or use some sort of a container that you can wash out and use again? So you're actually reducing and reusing, because you're not using the individual packs, you're using a big container, and you're reusing it because you're using items more than once. Instead of putting carrots in a plastic bag or in individual things, you can use something that you can reuse. And then when you recycle something, you're putting a product to a new use instead of throwing things away. And so I know that like old tires, they recycle and they make benches out of. There's a lot of things that they do. They're not just throwing it into a landfill. And that's the goal, is to kind of use most things, and to recycle things, as many things as you can. And there's in the back of many containers that have recycling, you could tell that if you can recycle it, because there's like a triangle with some arrows, and that's the symbol for recycling, and that tells you that it can be. And the different numbers mean different things too, so you might want to research that. All right, so with that, I'm going to show you a little fun thing that you can do with seeds, that you're reusing something that could have been recycled, but you're also reusing it. So I have here, I kind of started it for us, a plastic container that you could recycle, because it has the green. I looked at it, it has a green, it has a triangle that shows me that I can recycle it. But I decided I want to reuse this. I'm going to plant some seeds. This is a perfect time of the year to plant some seeds. And so this is a really cool thing, because this is works like a little greenhouse or a terrarium, where you don't necessarily have to water it very often. So what we're going to do, I have a couple different kinds of seeds here. And again, this is the perfect time to get things started, because about the end of May, you can actually start planting things in the garden, and things that have already been started, and they will grow. So this is, like I said, it couldn't be a more perfect time to do this. So I have two different kinds of seeds that you can compare. One is a flower seed, zinnia. No, are they zinnia? No, marigold. And the other one are pea seeds. So that's a vegetable. And you can see that the seeds are very different from each other, and that's okay. So and I got these seed packets from the dollar store. They were 25 cents a piece. So it's really, you could use seeds that you have around the house. You can use even popcorn. If you have popcorn that's not that you can pop at a stove, you can actually plant that, and it will sprout. And maybe you would have, with this time of year, you might even be able to get it to produce some corn. All right. So anyway, back to this. So I have these two different kinds of seeds, and I put some dirt in this container. All right. And now you're going to put some water, quite a bit, so that it, not too much that but you're going to kind of saturate the soil, pat it down. All right. And if you want, you can even put a couple holes at the bottom so it doesn't kind of pool up like this. All right. So now you're going to take your seeds, and I'm going to show you. Oops, not too many seeds. I used this for something else, and there actually is not. Oh, yes, there are. Don't want to come out. Okay, so here are my marigold seeds, and you can see that they're pretty interesting. That they are long and narrow, and they look like they came from the middle of the flower. I think that's where they came from, but I'm not 100% sure. So I'm going to observe these, and when scientists, they look at things closely, I'm going to say, okay, this is going to be interesting to see how this sprouts. So you can just put them in the soil, sprinkle them in there, and then pat them like that. Okay. Then I'm going to take I have pea seeds. Like I said, you might have something else. You can do whatever you want. These pea seeds, wow, look at these. They are actually dried out. Let's see if I can get them in the camera here. Not too good. All right. They are actually dried peas. Okay. So this shows you that you can actually probably do this on your own. If you dry out some peas and then plant them in the spring, you might get some pea plants. So again, I'm going to put these. So I'm going to compare, how are my marigold seeds different than my pea seeds? One's a fruit, one's a vegetable. Not one's a fruit. One's a vegetable, one's a flower. The marigold seeds look very different than the pea seeds, but let's see how they grow. So you're going to put these in, again, kind of space them out. And then make sure they're kind of covered with the dirt covers them like this, okay? Then what you're gonna do is you are going to put the top on here. And what's going to happen is the water that we put in here is going to recycle. It's going to, you're going to see, remember plants need sunlight too. So you're going to put it by the sun somewhere inside probably because it's still a little bit cold to put it outside yet. So you're going to put it on a windowsill and you're going to watch it and you're going to try, you probably won't even have to water it. If you have little water beads on top, that's showing you that it's recycling. The water is going through the water cycle and it will actually water it on its own. And in about 7 to 10 days, you will see hopefully some sprouts that will come up. After the sprouts come up, you can open up the container and so there's room for the plants to grow. Still keep it by the windowsill and just observe and see what you come up with. Again, once you open up, once the plants sprout, you're going to open this up and then you're going to have to water more frequently because this is not keeping it in, the moisture in, okay? So it's a little bit of science, a little bit of recycling and reusing and things like that all in one. So I'm gonna put this by my windowsill and see what kind of results I get. All right, so that's another fun thing you can do with recycle and reusing materials, okay? The next thing that we're going to do, we are going to use some newspaper. And there are so many things that you can do with newspaper. Now, I know even if you don't get the newspaper on a daily basis anymore, a lot of times you'll get like things that come in the mail that show like the grocery store ads and things like that. That's great things to use. You can use other paper, but I feel that this works the best as far as for this kind of recycling paper. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna make recycled paper. And what I had to do a couple things ahead of time. So what I did was I took some newspaper and I cut it into small pieces, okay, like this, okay? And then that was step one. Step two, you put some water in the bowl with the paper that you cut up, okay, looks like this. And then you need to let it sit for a few hours, okay? Now there is a way that you can do this with a blender, but I wanted to find a way that we could just do it with our hands and we didn't need to use the energy or, use the electricity for the blender, or, this is just a little bit more safe and something that you can do on your own instead of asking your parents for help. I would recommend that you do this outside. Get outside. This is the beautiful time of year to do some of these things outside and enjoy yourself. That way, if you make a little mess, it's a lot easier to clean up. All right, so this has been soaking. Actually, I did this last night, soaking overnight, this water in the thing, okay, and the water and the newspaper in the bowl. And so then the next thing you're gonna need is a strainer, okay? So if you have a, like a screen or a needlepoint plastic, that will work too. What you're gonna do, okay, you're gonna take your paper and you're gonna pick it up. It kind of feels oogie and gooey, which is kind of fun too. And you are going to kind of mush this paper together. We are making what we call a pulp, okay? So I'm just taking my hands and I'm just mushing it together, okay? All right, and then I'm gonna put it in the strainer right now, okay? So I'm gonna take another handful of it, mush it together. All right, so that the paper breaks up. We're making what we call a pulp, P-U-L-P. All right, one more little part of this. Again, like you say, it's like a little bit of a messy job, but it's pretty fun, not too bad, okay? So now I have this paper and I broke it down so that it's kind of almost feels like oatmeal, I would imagine, all right? So now what you're gonna do, okay, you're going to, again, continue to get it all together, almost like a piece of clay or a piece of paper mache, but you're not using anything except the water as a binder. And you're gonna see that it's starting to kind of go together, right? So your job is to get it as flat, because I found that I made one yesterday and it wasn't as flat and it didn't turn out as good as the one that I got that was really, really flat. So you're gonna use your strainer and you're going to flatten out the paper. Okay. Again, do it over the bowl so it doesn't make such a mess. I want you to be able to see it. All right. And so that the particles, the fiber of the paper sticks together. Okay. Now you can see it kind of looks like a blob. Now there's a couple other things you can do. If you want, you can put some seeds in here and then you can give it as a card and they can plant it. Or you can just do an art project with it. It's your choice. If you're going to put some seeds in it, you need to choose some like small seeds, like the marigold seeds. The pea seeds obviously would be a little bit too, I think they wouldn't stick to the paper. But I made one yesterday and I put some seeds in. It's hard to see. Okay, this is a little bit thicker. Like I said, you want it a little bit thinner. I'll show you the thinner one. And so there's seeds, so you could actually attach this to a card and say, help make the world a better place, plant some seeds. And you could even paint on this if you wanted to make it look like a world, right? So this is one, it's still not 100% dry, but I will show you one that's dry. This is one that's a little bit thicker. I would like mine thinner because I made one a couple days ago that was really thin and it turned out the best. Now, again, it's going to be hard to form it. So right now you just want to kind of mash it down. It's going to take at least 24 hours for it to dry. I would put it on a paper towel like this to kind of absorb the moisture. Oops, I just broke mine. All right. And like I said, if you want to paint it, but this is one that I did that I really like the way it turned out. So this was a recycled heart. It was a blob just like this one, but I cut it out. It's flatter, so it stayed together better. I cut it out, and now you can make a card, put it on a piece of paper. Now you can really see it. Put it on a card and write some letter and send something about maybe say, making the world a better place or just saying hello to someone or something like that. So it's a really fun activity that you can do. There's a lot of things that people like. They really like to buy paper like this. It's called recycled paper. So I hope you enjoyed that that one. That's a fun one. Another thing that you can do with newspaper, okay, is again, you can recycle it. That's a good thing to do. But if you want to play with it and construct with it, that's another awesome thing to do. If you roll paper together, I took 3 rolls of paper, 3 pieces of newspaper, and I rolled it up, and I wanted to make sure that only the one layer is here, okay? Meaning if you have like the 3, you want only one piece of tape on here, or else it won't work right. So with this, you could build things, you could use some masking tape. You would be so surprised at what you can build with just different kinds of newspaper, with masking tape, putting it together, bending it, try to build a strong, challenge yourself, challenge your family. Instead of, playing video games, this is a fun thing to do just with a simple thing, tape, scissors, and newspaper. And then I'm going to show you a fun trick this is one that my grandpa taught me many years ago. So I rolled up the paper, and now what I'm going to do is I'm going to spiral it out like this. Okay. This is, again, 3 pieces of newspaper. Then I'm going to take my scissors and I'm going to cut along the part that I'm going to put about 4 or 5 cuts like this. Back in the day, people didn't have a lot of toys to play with, so they had to use materials that they had around the house to make their own toys. So this is pretty fun. So it doesn't look like much of anything now, but if I take these layers down like this, it makes a very cool like palm tree or tree, or you can make a little, like it almost looks like a Statue of Liberty, a little firework. You could name it, do it whatever you want. You can color it, paint it, and have some fun with it, right? You can make hats out of paper. There's so many things you do. Do a little origami. Lots of things you can do with paper, and that's a great way to not, you're not wasting trees. You're reusing things. And again, if you're not going to do it, put it in the recycling bin. Don't throw it in the garbage, right? So I have actually 2 more things to show you. One, the other thing we're going to do in the thing that talked about feeding birds in the winter. Well, it's fun to observe birds all year long. So I'm going to show you a very easy bird feeder that you can make out of simple things. So you could either do it with a piece of string, and you need some Cheerios, or a pipe cleaner. Okay, so I simply took some Cheerios, I put a wrapped, tied a knot around one so that they don't go all the way through, and I simply strung some up. You can make it as long as you want, or you can make it as short as you want. This is a short one, obviously. Okay, so you just take it and you loop it up, and then you hang it in a tree or someplace that you can observe the birds. And when you're observing them, listen to their chirps and their different bird songs. And maybe you want to keep a record of the different kinds of birds you see. Maybe you're going to see something besides a bird. You might see a squirrel or some other animal that likes this just as much as the birds do. Again, this one, a little bit easier to string. You can actually reuse this after and put the Cheerios on again once it's taken care of. And you just simply string them up as long as you want. Once you're done getting it as long as you want, you simply put a hook on it like this, and then hang it where you need to hang it, and then put it somewhere where you can see it, right? All right. And then just one more thing, talking about, in that book, it talked about using boxes and things and reusing them. So I've become, what I like to do is just when I get an interesting box or an interesting package, I keep it because it's amazing what you can do or make out of these different things that instead of putting them, even in the recycling bin, you can just reuse them for a while. So here are some things that I would recommend using to do some art projects or some, recycling, engineering projects or things like that. So I just keep, and they don't have to be big boxes, but this plastic box is not good for the world, but maybe you can make something with it. Maybe you can make a container, put something in, like maybe make a jewelry box, or maybe you would want to make a little something for your action figures or things like that. Also, um, collecting things like bottle caps, okay? Amazing the different uses you can have for these bottle caps. You could glue them all on a piece of cardboard and make a collage, make something out of it. These different sizes, you can make wheels with these. They make great things that you can just use, just think about things differently. That's really how you can make a difference, okay? So with that, I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day, and that you go outside, pick up some things around your house, do some of these activities outdoors. Think about, what you could do with, recycle the things, make sure that you're recycling everything that you can, and, just make the world a better place. Do your part. Have a great day. I will see you soon. Bye now.